In the spring of 1944, the air in occupied Poland was thick with tension, a palpable sense of defiance simmering beneath the surface of daily life. The German Wehrmacht, having established a formidable presence across the country following the swift and brutal invasion in September 1939, viewed the Polish resistance as little more than a nuisance. Their perception was steeped in arrogance, a belief that the might of the Third Reich could easily quell any semblance of rebellion. However, this underestimation would soon be challenged by the resilience and ingenuity of the Polish people. The landscape of Poland, characterized by its rolling hills, dense forests, and small villages, provided both cover and opportunity for the resistance. The Polish Home Army, known as Armia Krajowa, AK, had grown into a significant force, boasting over 300,000 members by 1944. This underground movement was not merely a collection of disorganized fighters, it was a well-structured organization with a clear command hierarchy, strategic objectives, and a network that extended throughout the country. The AK's operations were meticulously planned, designed to disrupt German supply lines and troop movements, and to instill a sense of hope among the Polish populace. During the Germans continued to dismiss the resistance, they failed to recognize the depth of Polish resolve. The AK's strategy was one of guerrilla warfare, relying on sabotage, ambushes, and intelligence gathering rather than direct confrontation. This approach allowed him to exploit the vulnerabilities of the German forces, who, despite their overwhelming military superiority, were increasingly stretched thin across multiple fronts. The Polish resistance was not merely fighting for survival, they were engaged in a struggle for national identity and dignity, a fight that would soon manifest in bold and audacious actions. The spring of 1944 marked a turning point in the resistance's campaign. With the Allies preparing for the D-Day landings in Normandy, the AK intensified its efforts to disrupt German operations in Poland. The resistance's goal was to tie down German forces, preventing them from reinforcing the Western Front. This strategic imperative was not lost on the AK leadership, who understood that the success of their operations could have far-reaching implications for the overall war effort. In the towns and villages of Poland, life continued amidst the backdrop of occupation. Daily existence was marked by scarcity and fear, yet the spirit of resistance thrived. Civilians provided shelter, food, and intelligence to the resistance fighters, often at great personal risk. The Germans, for all their military might, could not control the hearts and minds of the Polish people. This was a war fought not just with weapons but with the will to resist, and the Polish spirit was far from broken. When the Germans continued to underestimate the resistance, the AK prepared to strike. Their plans were bold, designed to exploit the occupiers' weaknesses and demonstrate the resilience of the Polish people. The resistance prepared for a confrontation that would challenge the very foundations of German occupation, revealing the true strength of a nation determined to reclaim its freedom. The context of the Polish resistance during World War II is rooted in a complex tapestry of history, geography, and the harsh realities of life under occupation. Poland, located at the crossroads of Europe, had long been a land of cultural richness and diversity, yet it found itself repeatedly subjected to the ambitions of greater powers. The invasion by Nazi Germany in September 1939 marked the beginning of a brutal occupation that would last for nearly 6 years, during which the Polish people endured unimaginable suffering. The German occupation was characterized by a systematic campaign of terror aimed at dismantling Polish society. The Nazis implemented policies designed to suppress Polish culture, language, and identity. Education was curtailed, and intellectuals, clergy, and political leaders were targeted for arrest or execution. The brutalities of the occupation were further compounded by the Holocaust, which saw the extermination of millions of Jews, including a significant portion of Poland's Jewish population. In this oppressive environment, the Polish resistance emerged as a beacon of hope. The Armia Krajowa was formed in 1942, evolving from earlier resistance groups that had been active since the onset of the occupation. The AK operated under the auspices of the Polish government in exile, which was based in London. This connection provided the resistance with a degree of legitimacy and support, as well as access to resources and training. The geography of Poland played a crucial role in the resistance's operations. The country is dotted with forests, rivers, and rural landscapes that provided natural cover for guerrilla activities. The dense forests of the Campinos National Park, for example, became a refuge for resistance fighters, while the vast agricultural fields offered opportunities for ambushes and sabotage. The AK's intimate knowledge of the terrain allowed him to navigate the countryside with agility, evading German patrols and executing their plans with precision. Logistically, the resistance faced significant challenges. The Germans implemented strict controls over movement and communication, making it difficult for the resistance to coordinate their activities. However, the AK developed a network of couriers and safe houses, allowing them to share intelligence and resources. This underground infrastructure was vital for the success of their operations, enabling them to strike at the heart of the German occupation while minimizing their exposure to danger. Daily life for the Polish people during this period was marked by hardship and deprivation. Rationing was widespread, and many families struggled to secure basic necessities. Despite these challenges, the spirit of resistance was palpable. Civilians supported the AK in various ways, from providing food and shelter to aiding in the distribution of underground newspapers that disseminated news and information. This network of support was crucial in maintaining morale and fostering a sense of unity among the Polish people. The Germans, for their part, were increasingly reliant on local guides to navigate the complex landscape of occupied Poland. This dependence would soon become a double-edged sword, as members of the resistance began to exploit this vulnerability. The guides, often posing as compliant locals, were well acquainted with the land and its hidden dangers. They knew the locations of pre-mined zones, areas where the resistance had laid explosives to thwart German advances. The use of local guides was a tactical move that would have profound implications for the German patrols. During the resistance began to employ this strategy, the Germans found themselves unwittingly led into traps, suffering significant casualties without ever engaging in direct confrontation. This method of warfare was not only effective but also served to demoralize the German troops, who began to question the reliability of their local informants. As the summer of 1944 approached, the resistance prepared for a series of confrontations that would test the mettle of both the resistance and the German occupiers. The reliance on local guides, combined with the strategic planning of the AK, would soon culminate in a series of ambushes that would challenge the very foundations of German control in Poland. The Polish resistance was poised to demonstrate that even in the darkest of times, the spirit of defiance could not be extinguished. In June 1944, the tension that had been building in the Polish countryside reached a boiling point. A German patrol, led by a Polish guide, set out on what they believed to be a routine reconnaissance mission. The patrol, composed of seasoned soldiers, was tasked with gathering intelligence on resistance activities in the area. They were confident in their mission, trusting their guide to lead them safely through the unfamiliar terrain. The guide, a member of the Polish resistance, was acutely aware of the traps laid along the route. As the patrol advanced, he skillfully navigated them towards a pre-mined area. The tension was palpable, as the soldiers remained oblivious to the impending danger. The guide maintained his composure, leading the patrol with a steady hand and a calm demeanor. As the patrol entered the mined zone, the guide subtly signaled to his comrades hidden nearby. The resistance fighters, watching from a distance, prepared to detonate the explosives. The moment was fraught with anticipation, as the fate of the patrol hung in the balance. Suddenly, the ground erupted in a series of explosions. The mines, carefully concealed beneath the earth, unleashed their destructive force. The patrol was caught off guard, their ranks thrown into chaos by the sudden violence. The explosions were devastating, resulting in significant casualties and confusion among the German soldiers. The ambush was a resounding success for the resistance. It marked a significant turning point in their strategy, showcasing their ability to inflict serious damage on enemy forces. The use of local guides had proven to be an effective tactic, one that the resistance would continue to employ in the coming months. The aftermath of the ambush was chaotic. The surviving members of the patrol, disoriented and demoralized, struggled to regroup. The guide, having fulfilled his mission, slipped away into the countryside, his role in the ambush complete. The resistance fighters, having achieved their objective, melted back into the shadows, leaving the Germans to deal with the aftermath. The first ambush was more than just a tactical victory, it was a psychological blow to the German occupiers. It demonstrated the effectiveness of the Polish resistance and their ability to strike at the heart of the occupation. The Germans, once dismissive of the resistance, were forced to re-evaluate their perception of the threat. As news of the ambush spread, the resistance gained a newfound respect among the Polish population. The bravery and cunning of the guides became the stuff of legend, inspiring others to join the fight against the occupiers. The ambush was a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of the Polish people, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the spirit of resistance could not be extinguished. In the weeks following the ambush, the German command responded with increased vigilance. Patrols were ordered to exercise greater caution, and the once trusted local guides were now viewed with suspicion. The atmosphere of paranoia that enveloped the German forces was palpable. Soldiers began to question the loyalty of those who had previously been seen as mere civilians, leading to a climate of fear and mistrust. The Polish resistance, however, was undeterred. They recognized that the ambush had not only inflicted physical damage but had also sown seeds of doubt within the German ranks. The resistance fighters began to capitalize on this psychological advantage, launching a series of smaller, coordinated attacks designed to keep the Germans off balance. Each skirmish was meticulously planned, leveraging the knowledge gained from the first ambush to refine their tactics further. The guide who had led the patrol into the minefield became a symbol of the resistance's ingenuity. His actions were celebrated in clandestine meetings and whispered conversations among the resistance fighters. He was not alone. Many guides emerged, each with their own stories of bravery and cunning. They became the lifeblood of the resistance, their intimate knowledge of the terrain allowing them to navigate the complexities of guerrilla warfare. As the summer of 1944 progressed, the Polish resistance began to establish a network of communication that transcended individual operations. Coordinated efforts between various groups allowed for the sharing of intelligence and resources, creating a more unified front against the German occupiers. The ambush had ignited a flame of collaboration that would prove crucial in the months to come. The German response to the ambushes was not limited to increased patrols. They also initiated punitive measures against the civilian population. Villagers suspected of harboring resistance fighters faced brutal reprisals, with homes burned and families displaced. This heavy-handed approach, however, often backfired. Instead of quelling resistance, it galvanized the Polish people, who viewed the actions of the Germans as further evidence of their brutality. The resistance's ability to adapt to the changing landscape of warfare was remarkable. They began to employ more sophisticated tactics, including the use of misinformation to mislead German patrols. Fake reports of resistance activity in one area would draw German forces away from another, allowing the resistance to strike where they were least expected. This cat-and-mouse game became a hallmark of the resistance's strategy, showcasing their ability to think several steps ahead. By the end of June, the ambush had transformed the dynamics of the conflict. The Germans, once confident in their control over Poland, were now grappling with an enemy that was proving to be more resilient and resourceful than they had anticipated. The psychological impact of the ambush rippled through the ranks, as soldiers began to question their safety and the reliability of their intelligence. The Polish resistance, emboldened by their success, continued to refine their tactics. They began to focus on high-value targets, such as supply depots and communication lines, disrupting the flow of resources to German forces. Each successful operation further eroded German morale and reinforced the belief among the Polish people that liberation was possible. As the summer wore on, the resistance's actions began to attract the attention of the Allies. Reports of the ambushes and the growing effectiveness of the Polish resistance reached London and Washington, prompting discussions about the potential for increased support. The Allies recognized that the resistance could play a crucial role in undermining German operations in Eastern Europe, particularly as they prepared for the larger offensives that would come in the months ahead. The first ambush had set in motion a series of events that would reshape the course of the conflict in Poland. It was a moment of revelation, not just for the Germans but for the Polish people as well. The realization that they could strike back against their oppressors ignited a fervor that would fuel the resistance's efforts in the months to come. As the sun set on the summer of 1944, the Polish resistance stood at a crossroads. They had proven their ability to confront the German occupiers with cunning and bravery, but the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. The ambush had marked the beginning of a new phase in their struggle, one that would require even greater resolve and unity as they prepared for the battles that lay ahead. As the summer sun of 1944 cast long shadows over the Polish countryside, the reverberations of the June ambush began to echo through the ranks of the German Wehrmacht. The once dismissive attitude towards the Polish resistance was rapidly giving way to a growing sense of unease. Reports of the ambush, with its devastating precision and the cunning use of local knowledge, spread rapidly among German command. The Wehrmacht, which had prided itself on its discipline and strategic prowess, found itself grappling with an adversary it had grossly underestimated. The Polish resistance, particularly the Home Army, Armia Krajowa, had demonstrated a capacity for strategic planning that belied their image as a ragtag group of insurgents. The ambush near Radom was not an isolated incident but rather a carefully orchestrated operation, one of many that had been meticulously planned to disrupt German operations. The resistance's ability to exploit the terrain, combined with their intimate knowledge of German patrol routes, allowed them to lay traps that were as psychological as they were physical. In the aftermath of the ambush, German patrols became increasingly wary. The trust they had once placed in local guides was now tainted with suspicion. Every step taken through the Polish countryside was fraught with the possibility of hidden dangers. The psychological toll on the German soldiers was palpable. The fear of unseen threats lurking beneath the surface of the familiar landscape led to a pervasive sense of paranoia. Patrols moved more slowly, their progress hampered by the constant need to probe the ground for mines and other traps. This shift in behavior was a testament to the growing influence of the Polish resistance. The Germans, in time, found themselves ensnared in a web of deception. The resistance's tactics were not only effective in inflicting casualties but also in sowing discord and distrust within the German ranks. The Wehrmacht's reliance on local guides, once a strategic advantage, had become a liability. The effect of the ambushes extended beyond the immediate tactical victories. They served as a rallying point for the Polish population, galvanizing support for the resistance. Stories of the ambushes and the bravery of the guides spread through towns and villages, inspiring a sense of pride and defiance. The resistance, once seen as a disparate collection of fighters, was now viewed as a legitimate force capable of challenging the German occupation. As the summer of 1944 wore on, the resistance continued to refine their tactics. They employed a combination of guerrilla warfare and psychological operations, using misinformation and deception to keep the Germans off balance. The success of these operations was not only measured in terms of enemy casualties but also in the erosion of German morale. The Wehrmacht, stretched thin by the demands of the Eastern Front, could ill afford the losses inflicted by the resistance. The Polish resistance had achieved what many had thought impossible. They had transformed themselves from a dismissed nuisance into a formidable adversary. Their actions during the summer of 1944 marked a turning point in the struggle against the German occupation. The ambushes, with their blend of cunning and courage, had revealed the true potential of the resistance. The resistance prepared for a continued escalation of tactics, as both sides prepared for the next phase of this deadly game of cat and mouse. The German command, recognizing the need to regain control, initiated a series of countermeasures. They deployed additional troops to the region, hoping to quell the resistance through sheer force. However, this response only served to further alienate the local population. The heavy-handed tactics employed by the Germans, including reprisals against suspected resistance sympathizers, only fueled the fire of resistance. Villages were subjected to collective punishment, and the brutality of the occupiers became a rallying cry for the resistance fighters. The ambushes had not only disrupted German operations but had also galvanized the Polish people. The stories of bravery and cunning spread rapidly, inspiring more individuals to join the resistance. The once quiet whispers of defiance turned into a chorus of voices demanding freedom. The resistance became a symbol of hope, a beacon of light in the darkness of occupation. As the summer progressed, the resistance's operations expanded in scope and ambition. They began to coordinate larger-scale attacks, targeting German supply lines and communication networks. The ambushes had proven that the Germans were vulnerable, and the resistance was determined to exploit this weakness. Each successful operation further eroded German control and emboldened the Polish people. The psychological impact of the ambushes was profound. German soldiers, once confident in their superiority, began to question their safety and the reliability of their intelligence. The fear of ambush became a constant companion, leading to a breakdown in morale. Soldiers who had once marched with pride now moved with trepidation, their confidence shaken by the realization that they were not invulnerable. The Polish resistance, fueled by their successes, began to adopt more sophisticated tactics. They employed deception and misinformation to mislead German patrols, creating a sense of confusion within the enemy ranks. Fake reports of resistance activity in one area would draw German forces away from another, allowing the resistance to strike where they were least expected. This cat-and-mouse game became a hallmark of the resistance's strategy, showcasing their ability to think several steps ahead. As the summer of 1944 drew to a close, the effect of the ambushes was evident. The Polish resistance had transformed the dynamics of the conflict, proving that even in the face of overwhelming odds, it was possible to challenge the might of the German war machine. The ambushes had not only inflicted physical damage but had also struck a blow to the very foundation of German control in Poland. The enduring legacy of the ambushes would endure long after the summer of 1944. They served as a reminder of the power of resistance and the indomitable spirit of the Polish people. The stories of the Guides and their daring exploits became part of the national narrative, celebrated in songs and folklore. The resistance had shown that even in the darkest of times, hope could flourish. As the autumn leaves began to fall, the resistance prepared for the next chapter in the struggle for Polish freedom. The ambushes had ignited a fire of resistance that would continue to burn brightly, inspiring future generations to remember the sacrifices made in the name of liberty. The effect of the ambushes was not merely a tactical victory, it was a profound revelation of the strength and resilience of a people determined to reclaim their homeland. As the autumn leaves began to fall, the Polish countryside bore witness to a transformation in the dynamics of the conflict between the German occupiers and the Polish resistance. The ambushes of the summer had not only inflicted tangible losses on the Wehrmacht but had also ignited a fierce determination within the Polish populace. The resistance, emboldened by their successes, now faced a pivotal moment, one that would test their resolve, adaptability, and moral compass. In the wake of the ambushes, the German command recognized the urgent need to reassert control over the occupied territories. They initiated a campaign of reprisals that would leave a lasting scar on the Polish landscape. Villages suspected of harboring resistance fighters became targets of brutal raids. The German forces, fueled by a mix of vengeance and desperation, descended upon these communities with a ferocity that was both calculated and indiscriminate. Homes were ransacked, and families were torn apart as the occupiers sought to root out the resistance. For the Polish people, this campaign of terror was a double-edged sword. While it instilled fear and uncertainty, it also galvanized support for the resistance. The brutality of the German response only served to deepen the resolve of those who had previously remained neutral or passive. The moral dilemma faced by many civilians became increasingly pronounced. To stand idly by was to condone the occupation, while to resist meant risking everything. This internal conflict played out in countless households across Poland, as families weighed the safety of compliance against the moral imperative to fight for their freedom. The resistance, aware of the heightened scrutiny and danger, adapted their tactics with remarkable agility. They became more adept at blending into the civilian population, using the very fear instilled by the Germans to their advantage. The resistance fighters transformed into shadows, moving through the towns and villages with a newfound caution. They utilized the natural cover of the forests and rural landscapes, creating a network of safe houses and escape routes that allowed them to evade German patrols. This intricate web of deception became a lifeline for the resistance, enabling them to continue their operations while minimizing the risk to their members and the civilian population. As the Germans intensified their efforts to crush the resistance, the Polish fighters escalated their own tactics. Sabotage became a hallmark of their strategy. Rail lines, crucial to the German war effort, were targeted with increasing frequency. Explosives were strategically placed to derail trains, disrupt supply lines, and sow chaos within the German logistics network. These acts of sabotage were meticulously planned, often executed under the cover of darkness, with local guides providing invaluable knowledge of the terrain and enemy movements. The cycle of violence and resistance deepened, with each side seeking to outmaneuver the other. The stakes were high, as both the Germans and the resistance understood that the outcome of this struggle would have far-reaching implications. For the Polish resistance, the fight was not only about survival but also about reclaiming their homeland from the clutches of tyranny. For the Germans, maintaining control over Poland was crucial to their broader strategic objectives, especially as the tides of war began to shift in favor of the Allies. The escalation of tactics marked a critical juncture in the Polish resistance's campaign. The ambushes and acts of sabotage had taken a toll on the German forces, both physically and psychologically. The Wehrmacht, already stretched thin by the demands of the Eastern Front, found itself increasingly vulnerable to the resistance's guerrilla tactics. The once feared German patrols now moved with caution, their confidence shaken by the realization that they were no longer the unchallenged authority in the occupied territories. However, this turning point came with its own set of moral dilemmas. The resistance fighters grappled with the consequences of their actions. Each act of sabotage, while strategically sound, risked the lives of innocent civilians. The reprisals from the Germans were swift and brutal, often resulting in the deaths of those who had no part in the resistance. The moral weight of their choices hung heavy on the shoulders of the resistance fighters, as they navigated the fine line between necessary action and collateral damage. By the end of that year, the resistance's efforts began to bear fruit. The German occupation, once seen as an unassailable force, was now being challenged on multiple fronts. The ambushes and acts of sabotage had taken a toll, both physically and psychologically. The Wehrmacht, already stretched thin, found itself increasingly vulnerable to the resistance's guerrilla tactics. The tide was turning, but at what cost? The consequences of this escalation were profound. The Polish resistance had transformed from a dismissed nuisance into a respected adversary, but the price of their struggle was steep. The moral dilemmas faced by the resistance fighters and the civilian population would linger long after the wars, shaping the collective memory of a nation that had endured unimaginable hardship. As the winter of 1944 settled over Poland, the landscape was irrevocably altered by the relentless struggle between the German occupiers and the Polish resistance. The aftermath of the escalating conflict bore witness to a transformation that would define the nation for generations to come. The resistance, through its relentless campaign of ambushes and sabotage, had solidified its place in the annals of Polish history, but the costs of this struggle were deeply etched into the fabric of society. The Polish resistance, particularly the Home Army, Armia Krajowa, emerged from the turmoil with a newfound sense of purpose and identity. The network of guides and informants had grown into an intricate web of deception that continually thwarted German efforts. This network, built on trust and shared purpose, became a testament to the unity and resilience of the Polish people. The guides, often operating under the cover of darkness, became legends in their own right. Their bravery and cunning were celebrated in whispered stories and songs, symbols of the indomitable spirit of a nation under occupation. However, the transformation of the resistance was not without its moral complexities. The actions taken in the name of freedom had resulted in significant collateral damage. The reprisals from the Germans had claimed countless innocent lives, and the resistance fighters grappled with the weight of their choices. Each act of sabotage, while strategically sound, risked the lives of civilians who had no part in the conflict. The moral dilemmas faced by the resistance fighters were a constant reminder of the high stakes involved in their struggle. In the aftermath of the war, as Poland began to rebuild, the enduring legacy of the resistance became an integral part of the national narrative. The stories of the guides and their daring exploits were passed down through generations, ensuring that their contributions would not be forgotten. Memorials dedicated to the resistance sprang up across Poland, serving as reminders of the sacrifices made in the name of freedom. These sites became places of pilgrimage for those seeking to pay their respects to the fallen and to honor the legacy of those who had fought for their homeland. The post-war period saw a renewed interest in documenting the exploits of the resistance. Historians and scholars delved into the archives, piecing together the stories of those who had fought against overwhelming odds. The tales of the guides, with their daring acts of deception and sabotage, captured the imagination of a nation eager to remember its heroes. The resistance's legacy was not only a testament to their bravery but also a reflection of the moral complexities inherent in warfare. As Poland navigated the challenges of rebuilding, the enduring legacy of the resistance became a source of national pride. The stories of bravery and sacrifice were woven into the fabric of Polish identity, a reminder of the resilience and strength of the human spirit. The resistance had shown that even in the darkest of times, it was possible to challenge the might of the German war machine. This realization inspired a renewed sense of national identity and pride, as Poles from all walks of life rallied to the cause. Yet, the transformation of the resistance was not without its costs. Many had paid the ultimate price in the struggle for freedom, their sacrifices etched into the annals of history. The moral complexities of their actions would linger long after the wars, shaping the collective memory of a nation that had endured unimaginable hardship. The resistance fighters, once celebrated as heroes, would also be remembered for the difficult choices they had made in the heat of battle. As the final days of the war approached, the Polish resistance stood as a symbol of hope and resilience. Their legacy was a reminder of the importance of standing up against oppression, no matter the odds. The transformation of the resistance from derision to respect was a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit, a legacy that would inspire future generations to remember the importance of courage and unity in the face of adversity. In the years that followed, the stories of the Polish resistance would serve as a beacon of hope for those fighting against tyranny around the world. Their tactics and strategies became a subject of study for military historians and strategists, who recognized the effectiveness of their unconventional warfare. The resistance's ability to adapt and innovate in the face of adversity served as a model for future generations, inspiring movements for freedom and justice across the globe. As Poland emerged from the shadows of war, the enduring legacy of the resistance became an integral part of the national consciousness. The unsung heroes who had risked everything to defy the German occupation were finally given their due recognition, their contributions celebrated in memorials and historical accounts. The resistance had not only fought for their freedom but had also laid the groundwork for a future where Poland could stand as a sovereign nation. In remembering the unsung heroes of the resistance, Poland honored not only their sacrifices but also the enduring spirit of a nation that refused to be subdued. The enduring legacy of the resistance was a powerful reminder of the importance of standing up against oppression, no matter the odds. It was a legacy that would inspire future generations to remember the importance of courage and unity in the face of adversity. As the final chapter of this story draws to a close, the enduring legacy of the Polish resistance stands as a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. Their bravery and determination in the face of overwhelming odds serve as an inspiration to all who value freedom and justice. The unsung heroes of the resistance may have operated in the shadows, but their legacy shines brightly, a beacon of hope and resilience for generations to come. In the aftermath of World War II, as the world began to rebuild and heal from the scars of conflict, the stories of the Polish resistance emerged as a crucial part of Poland's national narrative. The unsung heroes who had risked everything to defy the German occupation were finally given their due recognition, their contributions celebrated in memorials and historical accounts. The enduring legacy of the Polish resistance, particularly the guides who had led German patrols into minefields and ambushes, became emblematic of the nation's indomitable spirit. The post-war period was marked by a complex interplay of memory, identity, and the struggle for recognition. The Polish resistance had fought not only against the German occupiers but also against the Soviet influence that sought to impose a new form of tyranny. As Poland fell under Soviet control, the narratives of the resistance were often overshadowed by the new regime's emphasis on communist ideology. Yet, the stories of bravery and sacrifice could not be easily suppressed. In the early years following the war, the Polish government, influenced by Soviet policies, tended to downplay the contributions of the resistance. The focus was often on the Red Army's role in liberating Poland, which marginalized the sacrifices made by the Home Army and other resistance groups. However, the spirit of the resistance lived on in the hearts of the Polish people, who refused to forget the courage of those who had fought for their freedom. As the 1950s progressed, a gradual shift began to occur. The Polish population, yearning for a sense of national identity and pride, started to reclaim the narratives of the resistance. Grassroots movements emerged, advocating for the recognition of the sacrifices made by the resistance fighters. The stories of the guides, who had led German patrols into perilous situations, became symbols of Polish resilience and ingenuity. In 1960, the Polish government officially recognized the Home Army as a legitimate force in the struggle against the German occupation. This acknowledgement marked a turning point in the collective memory of the resistance. Commemorative events began to take place, honoring the fallen and celebrating the bravery of those who had fought against oppression. Memorials dedicated to the resistance sprang up across Poland, serving as reminders of the sacrifices made in the name of freedom. One of the most significant memorials was erected in Warsaw, where the heart of the resistance had thrived. The Warsaw Uprising Monument, unveiled in 1989, became a focal point for remembrance. It depicted the struggle of the Home Army during the 1944 uprising against the German forces. The monument served not only as a tribute to those who had fought but also as a symbol of Poland's enduring spirit. Each year, thousands of Poles gathered at the site to pay their respects, lighting candles and laying flowers in memory of the heroes who had fought for their homeland. The enduring legacy of the Polish resistance extended beyond the borders of Poland. Their tactics and strategies became a subject of study for military historians and strategists, who recognized the effectiveness of their unconventional warfare. The resistance's ability to adapt and innovate in the face of adversity served as a model for future generations, inspiring movements for freedom and justice around the world. The Polish resistance became a case study in guerrilla warfare, illustrating how a determined group could challenge a more powerful adversary through cunning and resilience. In the 1980s, as Poland underwent significant political changes with the rise of the Solidarity movement, the enduring legacy of the resistance gained renewed importance. The struggle for freedom and democracy echoed the sentiments of the resistance fighters from decades earlier. Solidarity leaders, including Lech Wałęsa, often invoked the spirit of the Home Army, drawing parallels between their fight against communism and the earlier struggle against Nazi occupation. The resistance's legacy became intertwined with the broader narrative of Poland's quest for independence and self-determination. As the Cold War came to an end and Poland transitioned to a democratic government in 1989, the stories of the resistance were finally embraced as a vital part of the national identity. The new government sought to honor the sacrifices made during the war, leading to a resurgence of interest in the history of the Polish resistance. Schools began to incorporate the stories of the Guides and their daring exploits into the curriculum, ensuring that future generations would learn about the bravery and determination of those who had fought for freedom. In the years that followed, numerous documentaries, books, and films were produced, chronicling the experiences of the Polish resistance. These works not only highlighted the heroism of the fighters but also served to educate the world about the complexities of Poland's history during the war. The narrative of the resistance became a source of national pride, celebrated in cultural expressions ranging from literature to art. In 2010, the Polish government established the National Day of Remembrance of the Cursed Soldiers, honoring those who had continued to fight against oppression after World War II, including members of the resistance. This day served as a reminder of the ongoing struggle for freedom and justice, connecting the past with the present. The commemoration of the resistance became a unifying force, bringing together Poles from all walks of life to honor their shared history. The enduring legacy of the Polish resistance also found a place in international discourse. As Poland joined the European Union in 2004, the stories of the resistance fighters became part of the broader narrative of European history. The resistance's fight for freedom resonated with other nations that had experienced occupation and oppression, fostering a sense of solidarity among those who valued liberty and human rights. As the years passed, the memory of the Polish resistance continued to inspire. Their legacy was a testament to the power of courage and determination in the face of tyranny. The stories of the Guides, with their blend of bravery and cunning, became a source of national pride, a reminder of the resilience and strength of the Polish people. The resistance's ability to adapt and innovate in the face of overwhelming odds served as a beacon of hope for those who sought to challenge oppression.